Foursquare and Swarm are a great way to connect with consumers who are either searching for things to do, looking for places to go and spend their money, or are at a place and are looking for maybe a suggestion on something to do. A great example that I always like to think of is when someone would go to, say, the grocery store and check in at the grocery store. Coca-Cola might want to talk to them in that moment when they're on the grocery store aisle. Now, in addition to the in-app native products that we have, there's also a whole advertising platform that we call Pinpoint, and that's built on top of the data that we see in the real world, where we can build audience segments like mom who goes to the grocery store or person who works out at the gym a lot, and you can target those people across the internet on their mobile phone, on their desktop, whatever the case may be. So, you know, the use cases for Foursquare and Swarm for brands are as varied as the brands themselves, but I think it comes down to connecting with people based on the places that they go in the real world. I love Turkey. This is one of my favorite cities in the world. I think I could live here one day if I could learn Turkish, which is pretty hard. But you know, from Foursquare's standpoint, Turkish users are some of the most engaged in the world, actually. When you look at the average number of check-ins that a Turkish user has, it's much higher than in some parts of the world. So for us, you know, I think that the Turkish market is really important, and we've struck on something here from a cultural standpoint that I think is germane to how Turkish people communicate. And what's interesting about Foursquare and Swarm is they map pretty closely to smartphone penetration around the world, except for a few instances. So there's a much higher instance of people using Foursquare and Swarm in Turkey compared to, say, Germany, where there's very high smartphone penetration, but I think culturally they're a bit more conservative about sharing their location, checking in, being more on the social side of things. So I think the Turkish market for us is definitely a fascinating one, and I think it really comes down to cultural idiosyncrasies of the Turkish market fit well with our particular products. I think that there's a lot of ways that, you know, brands can partner with us, and not just us, but other companies that are trying to understand where people go in the real world. There's something that we talk about a lot in the United States, and I don't know if this is true in Turkey, so I will cite the stat from the United States, is that 93% of commerce, where people are spending their money, it happens offline. So people are going to places they're spending money, and the ability to understand where people go as a mechanism of targeting advertising or creating value propositions from a marketing standpoint, I think we're uniquely positioned to help brands understand that type of challenge. And in addition to that, I think that there's elements of the creative process that we can help inform based on the type of data that we can bring at any phase of the marketing planning cycle. It's amazing. I had never. This is my first year here. It's beautifully done. Everybody's been so friendly. I think that this is a fantastic conference. I hope I'm back next year because I can't wait to see how this evolves in the coming years.